The LA Clippers open up the series without Kawhi Leonard, but no matter. James Harden, Paul George, Ivica, Zubac, and crew were there to save the day with an absolute beatdown over the Dallas Mavericks. And I was in the building. It was amazing. How do we do it? What went so well? 1-0 on today's Locked On Playoff Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You are locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA and in my 19th season as a Clipper fan. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod and subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, where a video of my experience at Game 1 and 20 minutes worth of fan reactions after the game, fired up after the game. Shout out to everybody I saw at the game. All that will be on my channel, and Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. And I want you to let me know anything you thought of Game 1. Let me hear all your thoughts in the comment section, Clipper Nation. And you know what? I know the Mavs fans are going to be in here listening to this, so give me your thoughts on the game as well from your perspective. I'm curious to hear it. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about everything related to Game 1, the keys to the game, defense, individual performances. But man, Clippers, we heard before the game that Kawhi Leonard was out. I told you the last couple of episodes that it was leaning towards that. So we were prepared, and I even talked about what we needed to do with Kawhi Leonard out. And you know what that starts with? The performances of James Harden and Paul George. Before we even talk about that, I mean, what an insane performance by the guys. How about that? All those Dallas fans coming in the comments saying Mavs in 4, Mavs in 5. Look, if it's Mavs in 5 at this point, I'd be absolutely blown away. I would have been blown away before the series. If it was, I would have said that before the series. I always said this is a 6-game series bare minimum. But Mavs in 4, Mavs in 5? Do you know who you're dealing with? And you know how silly you sound after today? Seriously, after Sunday, do you know how silly you sound? Got blown out without Kawhi. Does that mean this series is over? Absolutely not. Does that mean it's going to be this easy? Absolutely not. Does that mean you sound stupid for saying Mavs in 4 or 5? You better believe it. Who do you think you're dealing with? Who's beaten you in the playoffs twice? Thank you. Like the great Jose Mourinho says, respect, respect. In all seriousness, though, let's talk about this. Ivica Zubac, to me, he set the tone. How many times have we started out a playoff game throwing the ball down to Ivica Zubac? How many times in a playoff game have we thrown the ball down to Ivica Zubac and said, go score? I talked about Daniel Gafford being the best rim protector that the Mavs have had in the Luka era, arguably. Right up there. Either he and Derek Lively, to be honest. Derek Lively looked better protecting the rim in this game than him. But I said that I saw Sabonis take advantage of him in the post. So, Zubac being even bigger than Sabonis, I figured put him in the post. Let's see what happens. And I got to say, Ty Lue pushed all the right buttons in this game. Much more than Jason Kidd. He allowed our players to go at their weak links, mainly their stars, mainly Luka, quite frankly, the entire game, which was awesome. He did not play PJ Tucker a lick. His after timeout plays were fantastic. And he didn't go small ball. He leaned into Zoo, and he was rewarded. And his timeouts were also phenomenal. Just really great all-around coaching from the staff and from Ty Lue especially. And establishing Zubac early, I think that really, really set a tone for us. We got physical. We were just, I don't know. If I were a Mavs fan, I'd be very embarrassed with that performance. This was an opportunity for them to get a game without Kawhi. And we haven't really looked that great without Kawhi this season. But one thing that is worth noting is that these last couple of weeks, we have gotten a chance to build some habits without Kawhi and a little bit of confidence without him. And that, I think, absolutely helped us in this game. But James Harden, he was absolutely phenomenal. I got to give credit where it's due. I did talk about his first round, 7 years in a row winning streak thing, but I did also say that this is a different level of opposition in the first round. We knew that James Harden needed to be great. This is the playoffs. This is where I said I was skeptical all season long, mainly the second round and on, but it is the playoffs. It is the big time, and he was really putting in a shift in this one. Arguably our best player in the game. Getting by, he was attacking Luka over and over again, which I loved, and Luka could not stay in front of him at all. And when you get by one, you draw a second, move the ball, get the defense in rotation, get open shots. James Harden was making his three ball, hit a deep step back to end the quarter. I mean, he was absolutely in his bag. Absolutely in his bag. And here's the craziest part. With Kawhi Leonard out, P.J. Washington was guarding Paul George and Derrick Jones Jr. Actually, no, P.J. Washington was guarding James Harden, and then Derrick Jones Jr. was guarding Paul George. But Jason Kidd was letting the Mavericks switch Luka onto James Harden, and it was easy money for James. And then so between Zoo and James, we really set a great tone in that first quarter. But the defense, that's what really stood out to me, was how good of a job Amir Coffey, who started in place of Kawhi, he, Terrence, PG, did against Luka and Kyrie Irving, staying in front, putting a hand up. And Luka in the first half, he was completely fiending that step back three. He was trying to get, or the step back jumper. He was trying to get to it the entire half. And I thought our guys did an amazing job, especially Amir Coffey and Terrence Mann, of not jumping, when he pump faked. Stay down, get a hand up, and if he makes a shot over the top, he makes a shot over the top. And he did make some shots over the top, Luka. But you want to live with that as opposed to Luka getting 2 feet in the paint and then you have to, send a second defender and now your defense is in rotation. So we did a great job of keeping them outside the paint for the most part. Zubac being a presence down there definitely deterred them a bit. But they also were just missing a ton of shots. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's all the Clippers defense. And I know the Mavericks fans are going to come at the comments before they even listen to an episode or even listen to me talk and say, stop talking about the defense. It was all our offense. There's always two sides to every coin. Dallas was absolutely off. They were missing dunks. They were missing layups. Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic will have better games. I don't care what their stats were at the end of the game. They were not good. They were not good. Kyrie Irving played well in the second half, particularly in the third quarter. We had 20 points in the quarter, but we were so in control. Just so in control. It never felt like they had a chance of getting back in the game really in the second half, except for when they cut it down to like 14. But you can't just play well in one half in a road game like that and stink it up in the first half, and then your teammates don't really give you much at all. I know Kyrie was 10 for 18, 31 points. That looks fantastic. Wasn't enough. I didn't feel like he played that well as a Clipper fan. You can say whatever you want about the box score and what you feel like as a Mavs fan, but as a Clipper fan, I wasn't bothered at all. It felt like we got him to take contested jumpers all game. That by the way, that move though he had with that reverse layup was amazing. The whole crowd was like oohing and ahhing on that, even myself. But he didn't have too many of those moments or even got in the paint like that. It felt like we were forcing them to shoot a lot of contested jumpers. And Russell Westbrook, I didn't even mention him. He's also a guy who came in and put in an absolute shift defensively. Point of attack, off ball, getting his hands active, and the energy that he gave to the crowd. I mean, games with Russell Westbrook, playoff games with Russell Westbrook, there's a different experience. So the Clippers, the second quarter was really what won us the game. We were up 34-22 after one. And here's the thing. We have not gotten off to good starts in these early games, right? But 34-22 after one, solid. James Harden really leading the charge in that first quarter along with Ivica Zubac. First quarter, Zoo had 10 points and 3 boards on 5 for 6 shooting. Harden was the only Clipper that played the entire quarter, and he was awesome. 11 points on 4 of 5 shooting. How about 3 for 3 from deep? We've started to see his 3-ball come back a little bit towards the end of the year after that slump, and he was hitting, and that's a great sign going forward. But defensively, I talked about what they had. PJ on James Harden, Jones on Paul George, Luke on Amir Coffey, Kyrie on Terrence Mann, and then Gafford on Zoo. So Gafford was getting absolutely bullied. Then the Clippers started Amir Coffey on Luka, Terrence on Kyrie, Zoo on Gafford, and then, Paul George, Russ, Coffey, and Terrence all got a chance to guard both of those guys. And I think they did a very good job I also think Dallas didn't do a good enough job of trying to attack our weaker defenders, Norm and Harden. I don't think they did it enough. And those other guys, they're going to have to make shots. PJ Washington, I didn't notice too much from him. Like, what did he do? 11 points, 4 for 10, 2 for 7 from 3 in 37 minutes. Not much there. Tim Hardaway, he made 1 or 2 nice shots, but again, not too bothered by any of these guys. Dante Exum went 1 for 4. Derek Lively 1 for 3. Like, right now the Mavs support Derek Jones had a donut. And look, they're going to play better in game 2. I guarantee it. But, like, maybe Mavs fans overestimated the supporting cast just a little bit. Like, some of these guys have not done anything significant in the playoffs before. And the funny part is the worst player in the rotation right now, Tim Hardaway Jr., he's the one that has actually done some stuff as a role player in the playoffs. Not to say that Dante Exum didn't have some good moments with the Jazz, because he did, I remember. But these guys aren't. We have Russell Westbrook coming off the bench. Like, are you kidding? Like, it's very hard to compare. I mean, at the end of the day, you need to understand how good this Clipper roster is and how well we have played throughout the season at times. Yeah, we had a slump, but we're good. And I'm not changing my prediction on the series. I said Clippers in 7. I'm going to stick with it because I think it's going to be a grinded out series. But seeing us come out and win like that without Kawhi, what if Kawhi comes back next game? And that's like a whole new energy in the arena, with Kawhi playing in front of the Clipper crowd for the first time in the playoffs. Full crowd. And by the way, speaking of the crowd, very good in my opinion. Not quite Lob City levels, as I'd say. Not quite Game 6 Terrence Mann 2021 levels, but I think better than last year. Definitely better than the play-in game in 2022. Better than the conference finals, because those games still weren't at full capacity. So, and better than 2016 and 17, I'd say. So I thought it was very good. Very energetic. Keep it up. Shout out to everybody in Section 207 with me. Awesome. So many listeners, guys. So many people that came up to me at the game. That was awesome. You guys are the best. That's the part I don't take for granted at all. That makes put the cherry on top of the sundae. But Clippers win it 109-97. And let me just tell you this. It was not that close. Okay, the Mavericks outscored us 33-22 in the fourth, 34-31 in the third. But after the second quarter, this game was basically over. They made a little fake run, but 22-8 in the second quarter. 8 points. So no team only scores 8 points, and it's all about the defense. That's obviously some bad, they can't hit shots, that element to it. But you better believe that no team is only scoring 8 points if they're just missing shots. We are playing good defense, running guys off the line and getting after at the point of attack. And coming up, I'm going to be talking even more about that defense because it's been one of the weak spots of late. Guys, I need you all to listen up for this huge announcement. I've been tracking the leaderboards every day, keeping my eye on the scores, putting all my heart into it, and I'm super pumped to announce I am finally on top. That's right. Obviously, I'm talking about the hit mobile game Monopoly Go. You've probably heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great mobile twist on classic Monopoly. You can play anywhere, anytime. You explore hundreds of Monopoly boards from Las Vegas to Camelot to the moon, all while raking in a huge fortune. Charge rent on iconic properties just like classic Monopoly. You can charge your friends rent on your iconic properties or go after their Monopoly money by pulling bank heists and taking wrecking balls to their landmarks. But my favorite part is the leaderboards, where you can see who's a Monopoly tycoon and who's gone bankrupt. So go get yourself on the charts. Download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store and Google Play. I got to tell you a little something about Game Time. It's playoff season in Los Angeles or wherever you may be. And if you want to go to a game and you don't know if you can go to the last minute, well, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, Clippers winning game one, 109-97 without Kawhi Leonard. And believe it or not, your LA Clippers led by as many as 29 points. The Mavericks didn't lead for a second. Talk about commanding. Held Dallas to 39% from the field. 30% from three. They got to the line 20 more times than we did. And they shot 76% from the line. 39% from the field and 30 from three. That was bad. And again, you got to credit this Clipper defense. There, of course, is an element of missing shots from Luka and Kyrie and the rest of the guys. But it's very basketball fact that the Mavericks supporting cast outside of Luka and Kyrie is not as good as the Clippers outside of Kawhi and Paul George. We have a James Harden, we have a Westbrook, we have Norman Powell. Even Mason Plumlee came in and was playing well. And as far as defensive coverage, that's something we got to talk about, right? Zubac was in drop coverage for the majority of the game. But at times, we blitzed Luka when Kyrie was out. Again, such great stuff from Ty Lue. And then blitzing when Luka was in the post. I mean, so many different things that we threw at them. And for us, it seemed very easy. And so, I'm not a guy that harps on coaching. But Ty Lue definitely outcoached Kidd in this game. And Kidd will adjust. But, I'm proud of our coach, baby. So all the people in the comment section that's saying Ty Lue can't coach and they look to scapegoat coaches every time their favorite player doesn't do well or doesn't win. And they don't want to blame players because they're weird and want to blame coaches for everything, even though they couldn't drop a play to save their lives. Take that. I hope you watch that game. But, of course, the people like that, they're just going to say it's not the coach at all. So, whatever. As far as Zoo, we kept him in drop for the majority of the game, and he did a very good job. The fact that we established him offensively, though, made it so that why would you take him out of the game? Why would you go small when you're actually featuring him offensively? The whole thing in the past was, okay, Luka's going at him in isolation and in the pick and roll, and he's not really doing much offensively, so what's the point of having him out there? But in this game, you didn't see too much of Zoo guarding Luka on an island. You did see it once or twice with him and Plumlee at times, Zoo and Plumlee, and they actually held their own at times. So there was even one time where Luka hit a shot over Zoo, contested, and he does that a lot. Of course, he's going to do that. But Zoo is just moving his feet out there and being aggressive, dominating the glass. Terrence Mann going up to the sky for the glass. And then Westbrook, coming in, hitting 2 threes, being all over the place on D, being physical, getting the crowd hyped up. Telling the crowd to be louder on an opposing team's free throw. The guy is just instant electric energy. And having him in a playoff setting is just absolutely amazing. Amir Coffey, he didn't have a perfect game by any means. He was 2 for 7 from the field, but he was 2 for 4 from 3, including the first shot of the game. And I thought his defense was just fantastic. Staying in front, at the point of attack, staying attached in the rear view, just making life tough. There was one time where Luka turned the corner on the pick and roll, and Amir recovered nicely and had an outstretched hand, which caused Luka not to shoot the floater and instead pass to PJ Washington, who attacked a closeout and missed the floater. As a Mavs fan, you're saying, PJ, you got to make that. But as a Clipper fan, I'm saying, great job by Amir Coffey preventing Luka from taking an open shot at the basket because he put his long arm out. So Luka thought, it's going to get blocked or it's going to be well contested, and makes him give it to PJ Washington, who we would rather have score than Luka. So it's these little things, playoff basketball. You just got to make teams do. Well, here's what I don't want to say. You want to make teams do what they don't want to do because that's obvious. But with a guy like Luka, it's not like you're going to make him do something he completely doesn't want to do. It's just that you want to take away their first and second method of effective attacking. And that is Luka Doncic shooting the ball. So anytime we can get the ball out of his hands, to me, that's a win. Unless Kyrie Irving's attacking a tilted defense, 4-on-3. But as I said, Amir Coffey, Terrence Mann, Paul George, these guys stood out defensively. And I thought we got a solid effort for the most part from James Harden on that end as well. Mason Plumlee working hard. And Russ, just, as I said, all over the place. In the second quarter, though, the Mavs, it was just all jumpers for Luka and Kyrie, as I said earlier. They could not score. Plumlee gave us solid minutes. And we went into the half up 56 to 30. Up 26 points. James Harden had 20 points at halftime. I mean, he was in his bag. 6 for 10 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3. And at this point, Terrence Mann was 0 for 4, and he was still being very hesitant on his threes, which was becoming a little frustrating. But I wasn't mad at him at all because his defense was so good, and he had 5 rebounds, 2 of them offensive rebounds. And on the first basket of the game, that Amir Coffey 3, Terrence Mann got the offensive rebound and kicked it out. Paul George was actually on the quieter side offensively throughout the game. Well, not throughout the game, but the first half especially. I mean, only 5 points on 2 for 7 shooting. He was really letting James Harden rock. Russell Westbrook even had 10 points in the first half, but he was still defending well, protecting the rim well when he needed to. So defensively, the Clippers, we were just so solid. One of our best defensive performances in a long while. And in the second half, I think we took our foot off the gas a little bit. You saw Luka get going a little bit as well. Kyrie Irving had 20 points in the third quarter, starting to knock down shots. Luka, 9 points in the third quarter. But we did a decent job of just keeping him at bay. For them 2 guys to combine for 29 points in the quarter, but they only got 5 elsewhere. We only got outscored by 3 in the third. We're still up by 23 points going into the fourth without Kawhi Leonard. So they made a little push. Luka started making shots, but ultimately, I think our defense was strong to the point where it never felt like we could not stop them at all. And that's major. And the fact that we got to keep Zoo on the floor because our point of attack guys were doing so well, and Zoo himself was doing well, and as I said, we're feeding him offensively, makes all the difference. As I said, if Zubac gets played off the floor this series, we're not going to have the same small ball personnel to combat Dallas. And Dallas still thinks that Zubac is like the same Zubac from 3 years ago, too. That's the funny part. They're like, once he gets put off the floor, we're going to win the series easily. Okay. Coming up, though, going to be talking more about the performance of Zoo, James Harden, and just the individual performances of the Clippers, how they were able to push back from Dallas's run at the end that cut the game to 14. Going to be talking about that coming up. I got to tell you a little something about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks, as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000 with basketball, hockey, and college basketball entries today on Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com and use code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. All right. Clippers winning it 109-97, led by as many as 29 in the game in game 1 without Kawhi. Let's talk about James Harden and Ivica Zubac in more depth. James Harden had 28 points. As I said, 20 of those were in the first half, so he did cool down in the second half, which is part of why Dallas was getting back in the game. I mean, it wasn't just James Harden either. Our whole offense kind of cooled down second half. But James Harden was 2 for 7 in the second half. 2 for 5 from 3. I think the offense went stagnant. Paul George and James Harden dribbling a lot when the Mavs were getting back in it. And when we were missing shots, that allowed Dallas to get back in transition and exploit one of our flaws is we're not a good team defensively in transition. But when you're scoring so much like we were, the first half, third quarter, we scored 31 points. It's hard for, Dallas can't get out in transition because they're taking the ball out every time. So James Harden, I just thought the way he was including Luka in the action so frequently and getting by him was amazing to see. He even took the mid-range, got an and one. James Harden, arguably the player of the game, and finally did, after a little slump, made a big three late. He had 28 points, 2 rebounds, and 8 assists to go along with 2 blocks, a turnover on 8 for 17 shooting, 6 for 11 from 3, and 6 for 6 from the line in 39 minutes. Safe to say, James Harden's first playoff game as a Clipper, raging success, passed the first test with flying colors. Absolutely awesome performance. Zubac, my player of the game, just dominant, destroyed Daniel Gafford. And I think one of the reasons that we allowed the Mavericks to get a little bit of momentum is because we didn't go back to Zoo. I really hate this thing about the modern NBA where they don't look at post-up guys, especially role players, to post up enough, especially after like the first half. In the second half, it's like it has to be a high ball screen. It has to be isolation for a guard or a wing. It can't be throw it down to the big fella, which I hate. Because if Ivica Zubac was getting a sufficient offense, he's been getting a sufficient offense all year posting up. He even said after the game, I feel like I can post anyone up. If a guy has that kind of confidence, especially because he's got a left-hand jump hook now, got to feed him. Why are we dancing with Paul George and James Harden so much? You know, these guys have worked hard. So that was part of the reason why, you know, Luka and Kyrie and crew got back in it. We got stagnant. We got slower. But, man, Terrence Mann, when he stopped hesitating, he was making every three. And his defense was so solid throughout the game. His thing about Terrence Mann, you cannot doubt him when it comes to the big stage. And here's what I'll say. There is a guy in the comments who has pushed back on my Terrence Mann shouldn't be the best point of attack defender on a championship team. And in this game, he looked like he could. He was doing as well of a job as you can do on Luka. Now, Luka will have big games. He's going to make shots over him. And there's going to be stuff that Terrence Mann there's going to be stuff that Luka does where Terrence just can't do anything about it, right? But the only thing you can do against a great player like that is do your best and try to make life tough. And I think Terrence Mann did that for sure. And the cutting, the three-point shooting, he was magnificent for me. 4 for 8 from the field, 4 for 4 in the second half for him. 3 for 3 from deep. Again, why are you hesitating so much when you're shooting lights out like this? 2 for 2 from the foul line, 13 points, 9 rebounds. He almost had a double-double. 2 assists, just 1 turnover. And by the way, James Harden only had 1 turnover too. So 8 to 1 assist to turnover ratio. You'll take that all day. Terrence also played 39 minutes, was spectacular. I love that guy, and that's why he's my favorite player. Amir Coffey, his stats don't look as great, but I thought he was also solid defensively, especially in the early stages of the game against Luka. 6 points, 3 rebounds on 2 for 7 shooting, 2 for 4 from 3 in 25 minutes of play. And I think the guy that brought us home was really Paul George. I loved how he still shot 20 shots. And when he had those 7 straight points, by the way, amazing out of timeout play by Ty Lue when I was begging for Zubac to come back in the game for Plumlee, and he leaves him in. Mason Plumlee throws a beautiful backdoor pass to Paul George, who, again, has been doing more of those back cuts on the left wing this year, especially after timeouts. After he told us on Podcast B that he doesn't cut, he doesn't back cut, he never gets it. Well, now he's starting to get better at it this late in his career. And what a pass by Mason Plumlee. So, Mason Plumlee, very solid performance off the bench of the Clippers. We only went 8 deep, Mason, Russ, and Norm, because, of course, no Kawhi. So if Kawhi had played, I think we would have gone 9 deep with Amir. Surprising that they took Mason over Tice, but Mason had 2 points and 5 boards to go along with an assist and a steal on 1 for 4 shooting. His bucket was a putback to put us up 40-22. And that was when, the second quarter essentially ended this game. The Mavs dug themselves a hole too deep to overcome in a road game like that. They just did. 22-8. You score 8 points in a game, 8 points in a quarter in an NBA game, especially in this era where it's so high scoring. You're not going to win and against any good team. Paul George overall, though, with those 7 big points at the end, that 3 he made over Luka was ridiculous. 22 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, and a steal. Took care of the ball a lot better, just 2 turnovers for PG. Did shoot 40% from the field and 33% from 3, though. 8 for 20 from the field, 4 for 12 from 3. And again, I think it's too many threes there for PG. 12 threes out of 20 shots. It's playoff time, bro. You got to get to the basket, catch the ball in the elbow, mid-post. We didn't get enough of that. So I think Paul's just got to be more selective with his shots in the sense of where he's catching the ball, work smarter, not harder. And that's a story with PG all the time. So it's all about him, what kind of mode he wants to be in. But defensively, he was so good. There's nothing to say about him negatively at all. And he's closed out the game for us in the fourth quarter. I mean, 7 big points in the fourth. Huge ones. I'm sorry, 11. 11 big points in the fourth. So, PG, he brought us home, and that's what we needed without Kawhi Leonard. So, 109-97 is the final. 22 points, I'll take that from PG. The main thing I love is that he shot 20 times. Without Kawhi, he has to shoot 20 times. Zoo. How about Zoo? 20 points, 15 rebounds, an assist, a steal, and a block. Just 1 turnover on 10 for 17 shooting. 17 shot attempts for Zoo is amazing. I love to see it. And 10 for 17? Let's go. That floater, I mean, he's gotten so much better at it, whether it be on the pick and pop, sometimes just, pick and roll, sometimes just trailing the play. So good with it now. And Norm Powell actually had a quiet game. That's a scary part for Mavs fans. Norm Powell played 30 minutes and was just 2 for 6 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, 5 points. He's going to have better games. How about Brody, though? 13 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. My only gripe, 4 turnovers. And the Clippers as a team had 14. So not great there, but I thought he was magnificent with the energy, with the defense, with the rim pressure, the dunks, the lob he had from Harden on that baseline cut that we've seen all season. Just spectacular. 13 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals on 5 for 8 shooting. 2 for 4 from 3. He followed the rule, 50% from 3. And if you don't know what the rule means, it's if he misses his first 2, I don't think he should take the third. But since he was 1 for 2, fine, take the third. He missed 1 for 3. Why not 1 more? If he missed that should have been it for him for threes. But 5 for 8 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3 in just 23 minutes. You can again make a case that Russ should have played more, but I'm not going to complain when we win. And it was a commanding victory. Let me know in the comments what you think. It's interesting because it was such a blowout that I feel like I have not enough to say about the game. And yes, I was at the game. And watching it on TV is a different perspective. And when there's so much adrenaline, you forget things. But I went home and watched it on TV and didn't really notice much different except for the fact that Kyrie had 20 points in the third. That was all that I noticed. I didn't realize it was that much. Because, again, I wasn't threatened. It was just like they weren't making any real big run. And once they cut it down to like 14, PG came in and scored 7 in a row. So, very pleased with the boys. I couldn't be more proud of them. James Harden, man. Russell Westbrook. Terrence Mann. Zubac. These guys, Paul George, they did their thing without Kawhi. I'm very happy for them. Let me know what you think of the video, guys. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod, and please subscribe to my channel. You can check out the atmosphere. The mics were being really weird on TV. I couldn't even tell how loud it was. Sometimes it sounded really loud. Sometimes it sounded really quiet. Sometimes you couldn't even hear the announcers. So check out my video. That's the raw reaction. It's the real, actual in-game, in-arena stuff, seeing what the atmosphere was like. And, of course, the thoughts of Clipper fans after the game. 1-0, and let me just tell you this, it's only going to get tougher. And in the next episode, we're going to be talking about the adjustments that Dallas can make and why I think it's going to be tougher and what to expect in Game 2. But are we going to have Kawhi? Oof, Dallas missed a golden chance, and I'll take it. The age-old proverb continues. 3 left. 1 down, 3 to go. Go Clippers.